All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Jermell Charlo, Tszyu, and Bakhram Murtazaliev. Man, that name is a mouthful. And the fact that Jermell Charlo is in danger of being stripped if he goes ahead with the plans that he currently has. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to be in the 154 pounds talking about one of the best fighters in the world, Jermell Iron Man Charlo, who has multiple mandatory title defenses laid up on him ever since he beat Brian Castano to become the undisputed champion at super welterweight, junior middleweight, whatever you want to say. But before I get into the fact that he now has a very tough choice to make, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support for the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis, and we both in the video format and in the live stream format always have really good conversations, sometimes heated in the live streams, but I'd invite you to come watch them and participate with us at around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do them pretty much every day, and then we drop videos, multiple videos through the day. So join the boxing forum. All right, so let's go with this. Jermell Charlo, it's funny, man. Real funny how boxing works. How certain people get mandatories thrown all on top of them, and other people can be undisputed champion and not be looking at any mandatories for who knows how long. And in this particular case, we're talking about Jermell Iron Man Charlo, who beats Brian Castano and is immediately ordered to fight Tszyu. However, he has another mandatory that really puts him in between a rock and a hard place, because he won't be able to fight Tszyu next. He has to fight a guy named Bakhram Murtazaliev, who is the mandatory for the IBF. So it appears as if the fight with Tszyu is going to get pushed back, and he's going to have to fight Murtazaliev or get stripped. Now, there is obviously the chance that the WBO and the IBF can work together to figure out which one of these guys are going to happen first. But I just find it really funny how you have Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds, who will not have a mandatory that we know of. He will go a solid year without hearing anything about a mandatory, without a mandatory being named by any of the sanctioned bodies. However, as soon as Jermell Charlo hits the deck with Undisputed, he's got back-to-back title defenses, right? Same thing happened with Yordenis Ugas, when Yordenis Ugas was trying to unify with Errol Spence Jr. At first, the WBA hit him with a mandatory. As soon as he won the belt, boom, hit with that mandatory. Or actually, he was hit with that mandatory before, I think even maybe before the Manny Pacquiao fight. And then they were going to try to enforce it. He had to appeal like 3 different times to get that done. Now, not that I'm against mandatories, because I do think mandatories are a good thing. I just think that there should be ranking systems in place where everybody, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It is just a blaring obvious difference between the treatment of Canelo Alvarez, who can hold every belt in the 168-pound division, be able to go up to 154, be able to go up to 168 pounds, fight Dimitri Bivol, right? Then go back down to 100 and then come back down to have a mandatory title defense against Gennady Golovkin, and then say after that he's going back up to 175 pounds to fight again for the 175-pound WBA championship against Dimitri Bivol. And the entire time there's not even a whisper of a mandatory title being put on him, right? So to me, it's unfortunate. However, I will tell you with Jermell, pretty much he cleared out that weight division, and until either Errol Spence Jr., well, obviously not Errol Spence Jr. because Jermell says he's not going to want to take that fight unless Terrence Crawford moves up, whether he wins or loses or doesn't fight. Errol Spence Jr. moves up to 154. That would probably be the next really, big fight that he could have. Other than that, it's a bunch of very, very tough fights for Jermell Charlo, whether or not they are a mandatory title defense or whether they're a voluntary title defense, because you have Tszyu, I think, and Murtabdaliev. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Murtabdaliev fight. I've seen a little bit of him. I've seen highlights of him. Strong, very strong fighter, good counter puncher, solid fighter, pretty much straight up and down, Eastern European style fighter, kind of resembles a little bit of Arthur Beterbiev style fighter. Actually reminds me, when I look at him, reminds me of Arthur Beterbiev, right? But then you have also Tszyu, I think is probably somewhere, around that same level. But then you get even more difficult ones where you have, I think, Sebastian Fundora, who's there as well, right? So it's just a bunch of very, tough fights for Jermell Charlo, man, without guys that have a lot of name recognition for him to fight. So at the end of the day, I don't really think that it matters too much which one of those guys he fights, because they're all going to be, relatively around the same difficulty, all good fights, all fighters that a lot of people haven't heard of, and none of them really terrifically big paydays. But my hat goes off to him, however, though, if he is actually going to go about, fighting these mandatory fights, because there's nobody else is really doing that except for, even Josh Taylor had a mandatory put on him and then wound up getting stripped. I think he got stripped of the WBA. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but he got stripped because he wouldn't fight. He didn't show up to the purse bid related to somebody else, and he wound up having to fight another mandatory fight, right? So you have Devin Haney, who's at 135 pounds, and I have a suspicion that he's not really going to get a mandatory put on him, primarily because of Bob Arum and Top Rank and their relationships with the sanctioning bodies. The IBF WBO mandatory is probably going to be Vasily Lomachenko. And if there's the WBA, we'll see if they order the Gervonta Tank Davis fight. But, even if they do order that, I'm not sure how much leverage they have into actually making him have that fight. But, as is right now, Jermell Charlo may very well get stripped by the IBF if he does not fight this guy. And he may be caught in a catch-22 between which belt he can keep, unless those guys can work that out. And the IBF is definitely somebody that will, and this is to their credit, it is not, a shot at them, will definitely strip you if you do not do your mandatory. And my understanding is that he signed a contract, or he signed an agreement that he would do it after his first title defense with the IBF. So the IBF is more than likely going to trying to make sure that that's the case, and then push that Tszyu fight back. Now, the Tszyu fight would probably, of all those fights, Tszyu might have the biggest potential to be a big fight for him because of his Australian fan base. But, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.